The stream of families never stops, climbing towards Syria's most notorious Sednaya prison, pushed on by reports that thousands of people imprisoned by the regime of Bashar al-Assad are still trapped alive in a section underground. The red section of the prison, they've been trying for days to reach it, Maysoon Labout tells us. There's no oxygen because the ventilation went out, and so they all may die. For the sake of Allah, help them.
Is someone from your family in the prison? في حدا من عائلتك بالسجن هلا يعني؟ مين يعني؟
My 3 brothers and my son-in-law, she says. The roads are choked with cars full of people looking for loved ones. As soon as they see our camera, they approach, holding lists of names of those who vanished inside Assad's dungeons, never to be seen again. You have to get them out before tomorrow, this man says. They don't have food, they don't have water.
Everybody's just started running. It's not clear if they have managed to get into this part of the prison.
My God, the woman prays, my God, as the crowd surges towards the prison.
So it looks like they think that they have managed to get access. A lot of celebratory gunfire, people now just flooding in.
After the initial jubilation, an agonizing wait for confirmation from the rescue workers. Many here have been waiting for decades. Hope was something they didn't let themselves feel until now. Rescue workers with Syria's white helmets break through the concrete looking for a way in. No one is certain where this red section is, or if it even exists. Inside the prison, family members are searching too.
You can see people everywhere just combing through all the papers and records they can find, looking for names, seeing if maybe their loved ones are there.
Tens of thousands of Syrians were forcibly disappeared in Sednaya, lost in the abyss of a prison that was known as a slaughterhouse. Industrial-scale arbitrary detention and torture, all to keep one man in power.
They call this the white area of the prison because they say the conditions here are much better than in other areas, but you can see it's still miserable.
In the center of the prison, another frantic rush. Someone thinks they have found a tunnel. They desperately try to get a look inside. Others look on, helpless. Not knowing is agony. Assad may be gone, but the legacy of his cruelty remains.
There are still conflicting reports about Sednaya and whether this so-called red section of the prison exists. A group that calls itself the Association of Detainees and the Missing in Sednaya put out a statement on Twitter saying that basically this was incorrect, that all people who were being held in Sednaya had been released by 11 a.m. on December 8th, and yet we are still seeing media reports as recently as an hour ago saying they believe once again they may have found this so-called red area.
Clarissa Ward reporting for us. Thank you so much, Clarissa, and your team for visiting the prison. By the way, the Association for Detainees and the Missing in the Sednaya prison and its team present inside the facility have now confirmed that it is empty of detainees in all of its buildings. The Association of the Detainees and Missing Persons of Sednaya prison have confirmed as well that the release of the last detainee from the prison has just taken place. We're staying on top of all of this. And joining me now, CNN's Fareed Zakaria. Fareed, thanks very much for joining us. We saw those really chilling images of the Sednaya prison in Syria, where innocent people were horrifically tortured over the years. How does Syria recover from decades of Bashar al-Assad's brutality, and what are you watching for as a new government in Syria forms?
You raise a very important question, Wolf, which is how broken is Syrian society? What we discovered in Iraq was that after decades of Saddam Hussein's brutality, Iraqi civil society was broken. It was very difficult to form any kind of real political parties, associations, all of that. And what happened is people reverted to their ethnic or sectarian tribes, and that became the basis for tribal animosity, hatred, and a huge civil war. So the thing I worry most about, Wolf, is exactly the answer to your question. Is there enough of a sense of Syrian civil society left, or are we going to see a replay of what happened in Iraq? Remember, Syria in many ways similar, which is to say the Assad regime was a minority regime in Syria. Assad belonged to the Alawites. The Alawites are a minority sect. The the Sunni majority, is largely responsible for ousting him. Also in Syria, like in Iraq, you have the Kurds who essentially want to separate in some way or the other. And so in all of this, if everybody retreats to their sectarian, tribal, ethnic identities, you're going to see a lot of strife. You're going to see perhaps conflict. So my great fear is that this is just the beginning, and what we are going to now see play out is a kind of low-grade civil war. I hope for the best, but that's my fear.
Let's hope for the best indeed. As you know, Fareed, Israel has taken control of its so-called buffer zone with Syria along the border up there. Turkey is moving to be a key player in Syria's future as well. How do you see Bashar al-Assad's fall reshaping the balance of power in the Middle East?
The most important thing that has happened is the collapse of Iranian power. And the collapse not just of Iranian power, but of the power of what it used to call the Axis of Resistance. That is this group of militias that helped keep Iran's power intact and its influence intact, and put the anti-Iranian force, groups, Israel, Saudi Arabia, essentially kind of America's allies, put them on the defensive, keep them on edge. I think that strategy is threadbare at this point. So what you are likely to see is a stronger Israel that is going to take an even more assertive role as it's just done in essentially securing a buffer zone for itself. You're also going to see a stronger Turkey. My guess is Saudi Arabia will continue to sit on the sidelines, but it has enormous, kind of financial power. The interesting thing to watch here is that this Arab country and the Arab world in general is now being shaped largely by non-Arab powers: Israel, Turkey, and the United States.